Hey there, folks. I'm Isaac, and I'm a level 90 Dragoon.
And I'm Claire, and I finally figured out how to rotate things in Happy Home Planner Academy.
And this is Make
Make
That
that game,
Game,
where we pitch the latest
greatest
new video game ideas.
that will never be made.
All right. So, first to start off the show, first of all, thank you. Welcome to the first episode of Make That Game.
The inaugural one. This is the one. Kick it all off. 100 episodes
100
at least.
Okay. You heard it here first, folks. We're setting a goal 100 episodes at least. So I have a question, Isaac. What's some games that you've been playing lately?
Okay. Well, so I have been playing Witcher 3. Recently finished watching season 2 of the show, which hot take, even the second season of The Witcher is better than Wheel of Time. Don't at me. In the game, which is distinct from the show, I guess it's like a sequel to the novels, where I thought the games going into this, I thought that they would be like the same storyline, but it turns out they're not. They're set like after the books and the show are. Anyways, to gaming talk. Pretty early on in it still, so I'm in the second area, kind of just outside of the tutorial area in Velen, which for those familiar with it, they'll know what I mean. Still less than level 10, and every single quest that I'm getting is every quest that I'm finding in this game is for like level 30 and higher. And I'll discuss that more in depth a little bit in a later segment. But how about you? Any games going on in your life?
So, as you may have guessed, I have been playing the Paradise Planning, Happy Home Design School. I can't remember the name of this game for my life, but the paid DLC for Animal Crossing New Horizons, like everyone else. Had to hop on that when it updated to get those gyroids.
Oh, we love the gyroids.
We love the gyroids. Had to get those new upgrades. We'll see how long it takes for me to get tired of it this time. But I've been enjoying the planning, the room design elements of that. I also started playing Oxenfree, which is a game about some teens who go to an island, and it turns out the island is haunted. And what I love about this game is the hauntings are explored or learned about through radio frequencies. So you get to tune a radio and kind of hear or manipulate supernatural elements with that. So that's been really fun, and I'm almost done that game. It's a pretty quick playthrough. And then I tried to play Gone Home, which I didn't know was kind of infamous, but here we are. But it made me way too nauseous. So shout out to those easily motion sick fans we've got. I feel you. Sometimes gaming is really a challenge for that. So I don't know if I'll be able to play that one through because I felt very, very sick after playing about 15 minutes.
It's those first person shooters. They'll get you. So here's a question. Do you think you would be able to play Gone Home in VR? I don't think it has a VR adaptation, but do you think that would be better or worse for your nausea?
100% better.
Better.
So a thing to know about me is I absolutely love VR. I got into it slightly early in the game. So I've played a lot of the early kind of not as fancy games, and then I didn't really have access to VR for a long time. So don't really know where it's at now. But the reason VR is better, and this is not across the board, but as long as it's high quality VR, and by that I mean something with pretty significant motion tracking abilities, usually not something run off a phone, that's usually not good enough, is better because it's tracking the way your eyes actually track and the way your body moves through space. The reason that we get motion sickness is because our bodies aren't experiencing the movement that we see with our eyes. So that's kind of the science behind why games make you motion sick. And that's Dr. Claire for you.
Yeah, that's our new segment, the motion sickness, the medicinal segment of the podcast.
Yes, the learning science segment.
Yeah, I was not expecting to learn about motion sickness today when I woke up, but here we are. So you kind of stepped into this a little bit in your discussion, and I alluded to it when you were talking about Oxenfree. I alluded it when I was talking about Witcher. But how do you feel about moving on to our world famous? This is episode 1, so it's going to be world famous one day, I promise you. But our famous segment, honk or bonk. So a honk is like a clown honk, so a good thing. You know, you're honking if you like lemonade. I don't know. I'm trying to think of road signs, but honks are good. And then bonk, as in like bonking on the head with like a big foam bat, if it's a bad thing. So I'm interested in hearing more about your honks and bonks for one of the games that you've played recently, or a game that you've played in the past. Go wild with this one.
So I'm actually going to talk today about Happy Home Paradise, which is the actual name of this. I did have to look it up. It is Happy Home Paradise, which is a DLC for Animal Crossing that allows you to design vacation homes on a new island space, as well as gives you some perks in designing your own home on your own island. So for my honks for this game, pausing for sound effects potentially.
Honk honk.
I love the ability to copy furniture items and customize them with just a button. Because as you know, if you've played Animal Crossing on your island, if you want to customize furniture, you have to get a customization kit, go to a, what do they call it, workbench, I guess, and customize it. Or you have to go to Harv's Island and get Cyrus. Yes.
Yeah, the blue
right?
llama. The blue llama. Or alpaca? I don't actually know.
I don't know, but you have to get them to customize it. So there's that. But when you're designing these vacation homes, you just have to press X on your Switch controller and you can see all the options and choose from any that you want, which is awesome. And also, if you want to duplicate furniture, you just click a button. I forget which one, but it's very quick. Whereas again, on your island, you have to either build or buy every single individual piece of furniture. So this does have more of a kind of Sims design feeling than Animal Crossing design feeling, which I like. I like The Sims a lot. So that's great for me. I also really like the facilities building. So on the island, once you've done enough homes, you get to build facilities, which include a school, cafe, restaurant. I haven't unlocked these, but I also know there's going to be a hospital. And I like those because they give you some in-game perks. For example, the restaurant, you get a recipe a day from the chef. And it's just fun for me to design something and then be able to visit it later and see the community using it. I think that's cool.
So does it actually, like, when you go to the cafe, is it islanders on your main island? Is it vacationers that you've made your house for, or is it just like random villagers?
So it's both. So it will be vacationers and villagers. So vacationers who live there, so who have homes, and also people visiting the vacation island. So I like that. And then the final honk that I have is I really like that there are these structural additions that you now have, and you can do these in your own home. So those include things like counters, which is fantastic because I think Animal Crossing just doesn't have enough shelving for all the tiny, cute items you can purchase. So those are my honks.
Well,
But obviously, there's going to be some bonks.
there's always a bonk.
So my first bonk is that this game is too much like a real job. When you go to the to the island, you're part of Paradise Planning, which is their room design company, I guess. Paradise Planning is the vacation home design company. And you're an employee there. You get your own employee locker. You get to pick a uniform. Some people might find this fun. When I play video games, do not want to be thinking about my job.
Yeah.
But part of the real thing that gets me in this is the dialogue is way too close to actual jobs, where your boss will say things like, I've really noticed your initiative lately, so I'm going to give you a bigger project. Like, I don't want to hear that kind of language.
Management buzzwords.
Exactly. Like outside of my 9 to 5, like absolutely not. And granted, it's pretty much positive all the time because it's Animal Crossing, but still absolutely not a fan. They also give people on vacation jobs, like the people who own vacation homes work at the cafe, and that's a little weird to me. If I had a vacation home, I would not want a job there because I'm on vacation. But to each their own, I guess. The other thing is there's no gamified way to do better or worse on your designs. So it feels very low stakes. Like I could literally spend 5 minutes or an hour designing a room and I'm not going to get paid anything more and I'm not really going to get a different reaction from my client. So it doesn't really feel as much like a game because there's no like extra points or perks for doing more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so wait, there's like can you not fail at all?
I've never tried because I do care about aesthetics,
Okay, fair.
but I'm pretty sure that if as long as I have so every room you have to have three specific furniture types depending on who your client is. And I'm pretty sure that if you include those three items, then you succeed regardless of what else you do. So maybe I'll test this out and I'll get back to you all next week how that goes. But for example, I filled a room with wheat and like three other things, and I still got, my full commission. I still got praise from the client. So it doesn't seem to make a difference.
Wow. So I wonder if you can even remove those mandatory items.
No, it won't let you finish if they're missing because I've done that by accident.
Okay, so it does seem like you just can't fail at all, which means that this is almost entirely, I don't know, it seems,
Like it's barely a game,
yeah,
right? Because
it's like a
so that's
toy.
kind of my biggest bonk, right? So that's that's happy home paradise. I guess part of it too is I can never remember the name of this. That might be a bonk. They should have done something. I don't know.
They should have
Happy
made the name more clear, more memorable.
Well, because there's Happy Home Paradise, then there's Happy Home Academy, which rates your island. Then there's Paradise Planning, which is the company on Paradise Island. And I can't. I don't know.
Can't keep up with all this
Can't
happy
keep up.
paradise plans.
Nope. All right, what about you? What game are you gonna honk and bonk?
Well, it's most on my mind. I've been playing it the most recently, so I'm gonna go Witcher 3. Gonna start with the honks. So the combat is pretty smooth. I have never really been in a situation where I've been like, wow, this combat's clunky and garbage. It flows together nice. You do chains of light attacks and heavy attacks, and you dodge around, and you can throw signs, which, by the way, you've seen this show, so the signs are a lot bigger in the game than in the show. Like, I don't think he ever uses, say, Igni, which lights small torches, or you can send like a fire wave and light enemies on fire. The push effect that he's got, he uses like twice in both seasons. Between both seasons, I think the first episode and one of the episodes in the second season, I'm using that every single combat, pushing things away or at least staggering them so that I can get another attack in.
That's a classic fantasy move, I feel.
Yeah, and like even Jedi have it. Like you can't have an action game with magic without having like the little push effect.
Agreed.
Yeah, so combat feels very nice, and the investigation in the game. So, you are a witcher, so a monster hunter. You go around, you get quests to fight monsters. Mostly, sometimes you fight humans, but most of the time you're fighting monsters. And a lot of the times you have like this investigation segment, which is figuring out what the monster is, what the monster's weakness is, and maybe alternate ways of dealing with the monster rather than fighting it.
I mean, this sounds like a TV show, like a Monster of the Week, literally TV show, which I think sounds awesome.
Yeah, this part is great. And I will say that the investigation part is kind of handholdy because it's like walk to the crime scene where the attack happened, and then you can activate your Witcher senses and it'll highlight some objects. And as long as you look at every object, which why wouldn't you? You get all the information that you'll need. And then eventually it just kind of boils down. The results of your investigation aren't really like a natural, like you figure out, oh, cockatrices are weak versus anti-cockatrice venom or whatever. Like that part is basically obvious because you'll have a bunch of different potions and stuff you can make. Monsters don't really have super specific weaknesses, but the results of the investigation kind of just boil down to like a dialogue choice a lot of the time. So after
Is that a honk or a bonk?
that's a honk in my opinion because you don't have to worry about like missing something. You don't have to worry about like, oh, because I didn't find the footprint in the mud, I no longer get the information that like I can defeat this ghost by giving it a wedding ring or something like that. Like it's not esoteric. It logic like almost regardless of your actual actions, as long as you accomplish the actions, it boils down to a choice. Do you want to fight the monster or do you want to not fight the monster? Like the most recent quest I did, there was a miscarried fetus that had became a monster, and I did the investigation. I figured out that there's a legend that you can transform it into a friendly ghost. So my options were literally fight this or try the ritual that Geralt himself is skeptical will even work, which requires, a whole lot of different effort. But it presented itself very nicely. I never felt like I was missing something. I never felt like I did not have input into the situation because I wasn't a good enough investigator. So on that, like a lot of people will say like the investigation is kind of handholdy. I know people have this complaint with games like Skyrim or something where every quest has like a quest marker. As long as you follow that, you can't screw it up. I think that's a good thing for accessibility, and especially for people who are like not as into gaming as a whole, that's probably very helpful. So I'm going to say it's a honk. I think that the investigation and the combat is very well handled. As for bonks, the horse combat, you can fight while you're on a horse and you can fight enemies that are on horses. And it is the absolute worst garbage that I've ever experienced in any video game ever. Like it's actually terrible, and I'm surprised that it released like this. I could see it. I could see it where if they just had the horse combat, like you could ride your horse and happen to fight, and that was a completely like you could do that. It was an option, and it's clunky, so you could choose not to, or if you for some reason really wanted to do horse combat, you could do it. But when you come across horse enemies, it almost seems like you have to be on a horse yourself. So with how bad that whole system is, like you're running around, you draw your sword, and then it goes into slow mo even if the enemy is super out of your sword swing range, and then you have to go through this slow mo, judge when you're close enough, and there's no indicators that you're now in range or whatever. Swing your sword. They're also swinging their sword in slow mo. If you don't time it right, both people miss, or you get hit and you miss, and then the horses run past each other, and then you have to turn around and charge each other again and go through the whole slow mo system. I don't
So you're saying the entire horse combat is in slow motion.
effectively like the
Okay.
like I can see what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it easier. They were like, "Oh, running by an enemy on horseback is hard to line up your attack because you're moving so fast. So let us slow-mo it." So the idea is you ready your attack, like you hold the attack button, and when you release it, you do the attack so that you can like time it. So like you aren't running towards an enemy and you have to press the attack button at the exact right time. You kind of hold it and then it's just about releasing it. And in theory that works really good, but in the actual execution of this, the slow motion triggers when you're way too far away. So it's like literally 15 seconds of slow motion, and then you swing your sword and you find out like, "Oh, you're 3 feet out of range still." And you missed, but they hit you, and now you've lost a third of your life, and then you have to circle back around. So horse combat, terrible. Um, Going back to one of my original points, I'm level 10. I'm less than level 10. I did like a level 6 quest, and I came out. It involved going through like a dungeon, and when I came out, all the enemies around me were literally more than twice my level with skull icons. And the next link in that quest was still 6th level. So I'm like, why did you put me in an area that I'm not ready for? Like, my only option was to immediately run back to where I initially started the quest was on the other side of the dungeon. There was nothing that I could do once it put me outside of that dungeon because I looked around the area. I was like, oh, here's like 3 level 13 ghouls. I'm level 6. Here's 6 level 13 wraiths. I'm level 6. Nothing that I could do. In general, levels just seem like a mess because every quest I'm walking around to notice boards and it's like, here's a level 34 quest. Okay, what am I going to do with that? Why would you put this in this town that I just found at level 6. That's real. I get that it's an open world game and you're supposed to have like access and going back and stuff. But it just, I feel like most open world games I've played either don't have a leveling system, have a scaling leveling system, so generally you'll find like a quest that will tone itself up or down according to when you find it in your own progression. Uh all the stuff that I'm finding is like higher level than me, but at the same time worse than what I already have, so there's no reason for me to upgrade. And I'm also finding tons of ability points, but I have nothing to spend it on because the number of abilities you can have active at once is based on your level.
What do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean you said you find things, but they're both too high and too low for you to use? I don't understand.
So I'll find a sword that does 10 less damage than my current sword, but it'll require me to grow 3 more levels before I can use it.
I think that would be a separate bonk, right?
That is a separate bonk, yes. That what is going on there? I guess I need to play the game more. Maybe something comes to light at some point. I could go on for like 3 or 4 more hours on this, and I have not even played that much of the game, so I'm gonna I'm gonna pass it off to you. Hey, do you have a game to pitch to me?
I do have a game to pitch to you. I
Oh, I would like
do.
to hear about that game. I would like
Okay,
to be
so
pitched to.
yeah, so the game that I'm pitching tonight, it's fully 11 a.m. But I was trying to get more of a radio voice going, so it's like tonight I'm going to bring you a game. It's a game that I have invented. This is better, right? Everyone agrees that that's what they want. Um, the
Unanimous
working
vote.
title, yep. The working title is Sleep Tight. And this game is a game where you have to figure out what the person in a bedroom is needs in order to sleep through the night. So this was inspired by me thinking about my own self and how I'm very particular about what I need in order to sleep really well. And I thought it kind of is like a game because some people like sound on, some people like no like white noise, some people need music to fall asleep to, some people hate having music to fall asleep to. So I thought this would be kind of fun and I could maybe base some of the scenarios on real people who could submit their sleep needs. So the game works like this. So your every level is a new bedroom and the person in the bedroom is not playable. So they're kind of this NPC who needs to sleep, right? And you are an omnipresent force that's going to control the elements of the room in order to make them sleep through the night.
You're a sleep ghost.
Basically, yeah. Sandman. You should probably be a Sandman. I feel like
Oh, perfect.
that
Yes.
sounds more gamey, right? um, so you would have, I mean, the actual gameplay, like the controls you would use and things like that, won't be super exciting. So it's mostly going to be sliders or equivalent of things like the temperature setting. Is the window open or closed? How much light is in the room? All these kinds of things that we think about when we think about sleep. And it can change throughout the night. So maybe there's going to be a loud noise outside and that we might have to change it up, or there's the weather could be different in certain levels. So because it's a thunderstorm, maybe we need to change, the window can't be open, or but then the temperature needs to go down because now it's too warm. All these real life scenarios, very exciting, right? To figure out. And so the idea is that as you continue to play, the rooms will get more and more challenging. So again, you might have noisy neighbors, you might have a thunderstorm, maybe this person has a cat that's causing havoc both in and outside of the room. Maybe they have a partner they sleep next to who snores. Maybe, all these different things. They had a stressful day at work, so it's extra difficult to fall asleep. And the idea is you'd be controlling these elements in real time. So you'd see some kind of bar or indicator of the quality of sleep that this person is getting. And once the quality goes below a certain point, they would wake up, which is when you would lose, basically. And then,
Okay.
yeah, and then the quality, when the night is over, your score would be based on how high you could get the quality of sleep. But over the night, you'd be kind of tweaking these in real time. So you might start with all the lights off, and then they're not really getting a good sleep. So maybe you add a night light, and then that's increase the quality. So you know that was a good choice. You might open the window, and maybe that decreases it. So you know that was a bad choice. So that's kind of how you'd start to navigate this game.
So question, how real time is this? Do you have to sit there and monitor for 8 hours?
No. So when I say real time, I mean that you're not like setting the circumstances and then watching a simulation. But I was thinking each night of 8 hours, quote unquote 8 hours, would be about 10 minutes of gameplay.
Okay. So the game would basically consist of a number of levels, and each level would be roughly 10 minutes.
Right. Of like adjusting sleep in various scenarios. But I think that's pretty much the game.
So I think, have you considered, or did you put any thought to the idea of maybe like different sleep requirements?
So can you expand on that?
Okay. Maybe a person needs to be a certain amount of well rested for, say, a big meeting in the morning. So they've got something that they need to do. You can contrive whatever explanation for it, but there is like a limited amount of time that they can actually sleep. So like they get home at midnight, and you have to not necessarily make sure that they get 8 hours of sleep, but just make sure that they get as much high quality sleep as you can before they have to wake up at 5 a.m. for their work meeting or flight or whatever.
I was also thinking as I was talking, so this is a new idea because I like that, is also maybe it is the same character, or you can play different character, like you can choose different people to control the sleep of, but that way you start to get to know their patterns. But also these things keep coming up that change. So like I know that normally, NPC likes white noise, but then and I've gotten them to really good sleep habits, but then one night the power goes out. How are we going to solve that? Now everything is quiet. That might be a little bit more of like a learning curve that's pleasant, because I was thinking it's kind of tough if you can never actually get the hang of something and then it gets harder. I think I enjoy that more. So I think maybe there's people you follow, and then it would make more sense to your point of having, oh, well, now NPCA has this big meeting and has to get up earlier than usual. How are we going to make sure that their sleep quality is at the correct level for that? So I like that.
Nice. Okay. And so what was the title of this again? What was your big game idea?
Sleep tight.
Okay. Boom. Well, are you excited to hear my pitch? Because I've come to this little podcast with a little pitchy pitch myself.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear your pitch.
A video game that will never be made. So this, all right, I'm going to set the scene. Okay. I'm not going to set the scene. No, I'm just going to. This game is called Hell Squadron 20XX.
Oh, wow.
It is an arcade 3D helicopter shoot 'em up game. So you've played as planes, you've played as dragons, you've played as spaceships. It's time for there to be a helicopter game. And I've only ever played like top-down helicopter games on like old computers and old PlayStations and stuff, but never like a third person over the shoulder. So like you will be basically looking at this helicopter from behind, directly controlling it, 3D up, down, left, right, making turns and all that. Unlike like top down, where you would just obviously be looking at it from above and you'd control like left, right.
So basically a game designed to make me nauseous.
Yes, a game designed to make you, that's why we call it an arcade game, because arcade games are meant to make people nauseous. They're meant to be constant, nonstop action.
Well, so when I think of an arcade game, I think of like Space Invaders, which is not that. So maybe
your conception of arcade games died the same year that arcade games came out. No offense. No. So
I can still go to an arcade and play Space Invaders. So.
That's true. But have you been? You've been to arcade recently. With all the sound, you've been to arcade. No, you had to have, where like all the games are like the shoot, like they have the guns on them, or they're like the racing, jet ski, snowboard games.
I mean, I will say the last time I went to arcade, I did make a beeline with blinders on to Space Invaders. I go to an
Okay.
arcade, I play Space Invaders.
Well, all right then. Let's quickly move on past this arcade. Uh,
So I know
ooh,
the games you're talking of. Have I ever played or even watched someone play them? Absolutely not.
all right. Well, this is supposed to be so overwhelming, like such a sensory overload that you barely can play it, and you eats millions of quarters and makes the arcade rich. But
Okay.
it doesn't have to. Like, you could play this game at home, and it would still be, an engaging experience, I hope. So
Mhm.
here's my basic tenets of it. It's not a flight simulator, so we're not doing hardcore helicopter physics. Like we're not doing gravity. We're not doing like, oh, if your blade gets hit by a bullet, like you spin out of control. There's no realism going on here. We're here for explosions. We only want to see things exploding. We want loud bangs and booms. We want dozens of enemies on screen all exploding at once. We want missiles flying everywhere. In fact, we don't even want the main helicopter that you play as. Most games in this sense, they would start you off with like a machine gun, like low damage, high rate of fire. No, that is for squares. Our basic weapon in this game is going to be a missile launcher.
Wow.
We
That's
we are going to have a rapid fire missile launcher. We can call it a machine gun because it's just going to be shoo 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 missiles exploding all over the place. It's going to have auto lock on. So like every time an enemy comes on screen after like a slight delay, it's going to auto lock on so that the next missile you shoot is going to shoot at that enemy. There will be precise controls with the second joystick, but a lot of people, they don't want to deal with the second joystick. They just
mhm.
want a single stick shooting experience. But for those people who want some precision aiming, like they don't like that the auto lock on is locking on to the weakest enemies first. They want to focus on maybe the boss enemy on screen, the biggest helicopter. So they will have that option. Doing quick 90-degree turns in midair, just at the press of a button or maybe a double tap of a button, depending on whether you're on a controller or a keyboard. If you're on a keyboard, you have more buttons to work with, so you can spread these things out. But if you're on a controller, you kind of have to put things into double tap because less button space to work with. Going back to the explosions, we're gonna have a destructible environment. You're gonna be flying through the city streets. You're gonna be flying above buildings, through under bridges, around them, and you're gonna be able to blow up basically everything on the map. So like it starts this pristine city, and then as the enemy helicopters and whatever else, dragons, why not dragons, spaceships? No, we can have anything we want. We're here for a good time, not a sensible time. Basically, since you're shooting so many missiles, whatever doesn't hit an enemy is most likely going to hit a tree or a bridge, a mountain, a building, and these buildings are going to be blown up. So like you can, by the end of a level, have it completely flat, no place for your enemies
So,
to hide.
and I might have missed this, but uh, how do you lose this game? Because you said this is going to eat some quarters, which means obviously there's objectives, right?
You lose
So,
this game by getting shot out of the sky
so
by
there's
the
other
overwhelming.
helicopters.
There's other helicopters.
Okay.
So like you load up a level and they'll like give you a little objective blurb. They'll be like, the terrorists have taken the city hall, stop them. And then you fly through the city, which is swarming with helicopters because in Hell Squadron 20XX, helicopters are the primary mode of transportation, primary attack vehicle, and just basically everything that you would normally do in a car, you do in a helicopter instead.
So I have a pitch for you
Okay.
for the title
Okay.
because we called it Hell Squadron, but your unique element of this game is helicopter battle. I think it should be called Hell Helicopter.
Okay.
XXX.
Okay. Okay, so I will admit that my initial idea for the name was helicopter.
Okay, because they
So
were
I like that
helicopter
you're
cops.
emphasizing the hell in helicopter.
Well, yeah, if
So
you're gonna name it Hell Squadron, then might as well, right? It's there for you.
okay, all right, you're right. So okay, I'm changing it from Hell Squadron 20XX to Helicopter 20XX. Okay, perfect.
Then you know what you're getting into right away.
Yeah, you know exactly. There's going to be helicopters, there's going to be explosions, there's going to be fire, there's going to be demons, actually. I've just decided that there are demons in this game, and you have to shoot them out of the sky with your helicopter. And they will shoot. They will also, there will be demons in helicopters and demons that look like helicopters.
Ooh,
And it's so sad that this game will never be made because this game needs to be made. I've decided. I'm actually starting working on this game right now.
actively this moment.
Yeah, no, I just opened up Godot. I don't know. I'm trying to say a buzzword name. Everyone's talking about Godot. Godot,
Ditto.
Godot in the game making community right now. But that's neither here nor there.
I have to assume it's pronounced Godot based on the
Waiting for
waiting for
Godot.
Godot. Yes, but that's my French showing, so I could be mistaken.
So yeah, that's my pitch sesh. So what do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Would you fund this pitch? I'm only looking for $2.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's great how opposite our games were. I was like, let's have a sleepy night. And then your game is like, let's blow everything up as much as possible. So that's good. Not my kind of game, but does sound like a good romp through a hellscape.
Thank you, thank you.
Welcome. All right. So now that we've pitched our games that we actually spent a significant amount of time developing, thinking through, writing about, really honing in on those mechanics, probably. It's time to really let our creativity in the moment shine. And we're going to try to design some games. We're going to design some games based on 3 random words. So I have in front of me a random word generator.
Oh boy.
These are in the moment generated words. We do not look at these ahead of time. And we're going to get 3 words, and together we'll have to design a game around those 3 words. So that's what's going to happen right now. Are you ready?
I don't think anyone could possibly be ready for this, but I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, I'm clicking the generate random words now. This is really good. Okay, so it's curtain, as in window curtain. Recycle, as in reduce, reuse, recycle. And dairy.
Okay.
So I'm going to say the first thought that came to mind when I saw the word dairy was the New York State Fair.
Oh, that is
So
a good time.
I'm hoping we can maybe work that into some of our design.
Okay, so all right, so it's taking place at the state fair. There are cows. Because there's curtains, they're putting on a show. It's a
Okay,
theatrical production,
cow show.
and they only have. Okay, so these cows only have materials from previous shows to work with, and they have to make them
Okay,
work. So the way that
okay.
this works is the level opens up. You've got the show that you are supposed to make, and then you've got the list of what shows and items are left over from previous like runs. So like let's say you have to do Romeo and Juliet, but the
Oh, so
last
these are like theatrical shows, like actual productions.
yes, yeah.
Okay, this is not like walking through a hoop of fire or something.
No. So like you have to put on Romeo and Juliet. The theater had previously done Thoroughly Modern Millie, Oklahoma, and Macbeth. And then you have to figure out how to make the sets and costumes and any other props that they have left over from those shows work for Romeo and Juliet.
This is amazing.
So you,
I love that they're cows, right? Cows are performing this
yes,
because of
yep,
dairy. Okay. I did want to also say that I just wanted to applaud you for pulling Thoroughly Modern Millie out of thin air as a musical. As someone who doesn't know a lot of musicals, that's a pretty niche one. So I just wanted to give you credit for that pull.
thank
So
you, thank you. I may not know many musicals, but the ones that I do know are so obscure. So okay, so we need a name. We've got the mechanics. We need a name, and I'm at a loss here.
okay, hold on. This is where I shine, I think, because I have the puns, right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I mean, it has nothing to do with murder, but I keep wanting to call it mooder. The mooder most foul.
If chickens were involved, yeah.
Oh, yes, that would be good. All right, I'm trying to dairy cows, right? Recycle. um, are there any sayings that have to do with cows that we could lean into
I
or
mean,
dairy?
I know that there's sayings that do with cows, but none that I can think of now that there's pressure on me. So okay,
What about wait. I'm so milking a cow, right? But you also milk a situation, which is kind of what you're doing, right? You're milking a situation
okay,
because you have these reusable resources.
okay. So here's my thought. Instead of trying to make like a title that like refers to the situation or like the gameplay, how about we just uh call it like some pun related to cows theater. So like Moulin Rouge theater, but that implies a specific musical. But you know,
Well, no, so the Moulin Rouge is actually a theater in France. And
oh,
that's why
so
the musical is called, yeah.
we could call it the Moulin Rouge.
I think we should call it the Moulin Rouge. I think that's great. Or Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Re-ouge.
Rouge. I think you have to have the je to make
Okay,
it
all right.
just to get a
Moulin
little
Rouge.
fancy, a little spicy. All right, the
Re-ouge.
Moulin Rouge.
All
And
right,
that is
boom.
this game. All right, next three words. It's generating. All right. Diagram,
Okay.
twist, and science.
Diagram, twist, science. Okay. So twist and science together make me think of DNA.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
genetics game. So
Yeah.
you've got some mascot unknown like mascot creature. You call them florgals or whatever, and each
Okay.
florgal has genetics, and
You've
you
kind of lost me at what a mascot creature is.
at a what?
What is a mascot creature?
Just like
I
just
don't know.
so okay. So a mascot creature is just like a creature that is designed to be a mascot. So like it is designed to be cute, recognizable. Like the Lemmings games have like well, you probably are you familiar with the Lemmings games?
My dad used to play that. But
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, so they're like they little little things with big noses and like blue robes and green hair, I think, is what my brain thinks of. So it's just recognizable. So when I say mascot creatures, I mean just like we create a creature to be the idea of this game. Like I'm calling them Florgals because that's a mascotable name. That's a brandable name. So we've got Florgals. Each Florgal has different
Florgles
genes.
TM.
Yes, Florgals TM. Florgals have genes and you breed them and maybe there's specific goals or maybe it's just a toy where you're like, "Oh, I want to make bright pink Florgals. How do I do
Well,
that?"
so I want to know how diagram comes into your game.
Uh because so I would consider the genetic chart, you've got like XX or XY on the two
So those are
axes.
chromosomes, right? Which
Yes.
are a little different than DNA.
Well, oh, sorry. No, I'm talking.
Welcome to Science Corner with
Okay,
Claire again.
so let's
Sorry, we're
say
back.
instead of X, Y, say A, B, A, B. So you have the parents with the genes A and B, and both parents
So
have
I think
the
let's
A and
not
B,
get
and then
into
you
the
see the
specifics
different.
of.
But that's a diagram, so that's the diagram I'm going off of.
Okay, I had a different kind of. I was thinking when I saw science and twist, I thought I also did think of kind of a breeding situation, but I also was thinking with twist and science, like mad scientist, right? Like we're twisting science in kind of a
Okay.
not so great way. And so you'd have like a diagram of the way something is supposed to work, and you have to twist it in a certain way to like create like a monster or like a aberration as a mad scientist. So it's a similar style, but a little more menacing, I guess.
Now I'm trying to think of like what like a level looks like. So you get the diagram of what.
Oh, how about this? Wait, I got it. You get a diagram of what the resulting floor goal has to be, and you have to manipulate the DNA in such a way that results in that floor goal. So there's actually some kind of scoring, and there could be a free play element where
Okay.
you get to design your own, like you said, like hot pink, whatever. But then the gameplay is you have to match this diagram of a floor goal.
Okay, so you have to figure out which breeding like
Right.
pairs, or let's not. They don't breed. You just
Yeah,
inject
this
the
is lab.
DNA,
Yes.
and it does lab work, and you figure, okay, all right, boom, and then
Okay.
this game is
I
just
think it should be
called the.
called.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I think it might be this floor goal twist. Was what I was going to say.
Oh, I was just gonna say the Florgles, but
Okay.
all right. So we've got Florgle. I'll go with Florgle twist because that's the actual
Florgle
gameplay mechanic. All right, next three
Floor goal
words.
twist. All right, these are our final for today. Wealth, like abundance of wealth.
Okay.
Assumption.
Wealth assumption.
Negligence.
Ooh, these are just bummers because this is
These
just
are big words. Yeah.
this is just capitalism.
This is how you know these are random words that we haven't seen before, because I don't think I would say, let's make a game about negligence on a podcast that's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah. Okay, so wealth. What was the second one?
Assumption.
Wealth assumption
Negligence.
negligence. How much do we have to use the words that are generated? So I get that they have to be used, but can we stretch the boundaries there? Like, can the game involve negligence, or does it have to involve negligence? Like, is a core part of this game idea required to be about negligence, or is it like,
I'll say this. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be a core part, like, but it does have to be there. We can't ignore a word completely. So
okay,
it might be that we interpret it in a new way. Like that's what I was thinking, is let's really think about like what do these things mean? Because I think the fun way to play this game, because obviously capitalism or like what the wealthy are really like is not necessarily a romp, would be acquiring wealth, right? Like somehow. So maybe that's through some kind of negligence or assumptions, like if we flip it a little. But I think they all have to be elements of the game, whether or not there's some will be stronger and some will be weaker. But we can't just ignore a word, because then what are we even doing?
I came up with an idea.
Okay.
Okay. You are playing as a character who dresses, or like your goal is to figure out how to get into an event or area.
I want to play this right now. This is amazing. Yes.
This is a stealth game.
Yes.
Because people have to assume that you belong there. And
right.
Through their negligence of asking for IDs or whatever, you acquire their wealth by stealing from them. So like, the classic walking into a sports game wearing like the high vis jackets, acting like you're like a security guard or whatever.
And maybe that's how you start. And that's how you kind of start to get, because I think maybe the things you steal, there's some things where you're stealing money, but what you can use to buy more status symbols, but you can also steal status symbols to then gain access to higher class events.
Yes. Okay. This is an idea.
I honestly love this. I want to play this game.
Wow, we got there. It took some effort, but we got there. And
what are we calling it?
That's the problem. I don't know what you would call that.
So going back to a musical reference, I thought it'd be fun to call it Thénardier, because that's the name of the innkeepers in Les Mis that kind of do this.
Oh,
But
they just act
that's
important enough.
that's too niche. I just wanted to share since we already talked about musicals today.
Okay, let's see. So you're I feel like there's a phrase, maybe let's see, walk the walk, talk the talk,
Fake it till you make it.
fake it till you make it. I think that there's something with walk the walk. We could call it WTW, walk the walk. Right? Is that too vague?
I mean, no, I don't think it's too vague. It doesn't have to be super specific. I think walk the walk doesn't imply as how much fun this game would be in my eyes.
That's true. Well, this is rapid fire, so we don't we don't get that much time to deliberate. Well,
Fine.
I don't know. Do you have an idea?
No. So let's go with walk the walk.
All right, walk the walk.
I like it. Walk the walk.
All right, so let's recap. We've got walk the walk, a stealth game about breaking or infiltrating locations you don't belong to steal things.
Correct.
We've got
Frugals. Is that the name?
Yeah, Frugal Twist. Frugal Twist.
It's not Frugals. It's not. We already forgot.
Yeah, I already forgot as well.
Florgals. It's something like that.
Florgal Twist.
Florgal Twist. TM.
So we've got Florgal Twist, the game about creating designer creatures for clients. And then you've got the Moo-lin Re-ouge, a game about a destitute cow theater putting on whatever shows they can with what things they have lying around.
Amazing. All right. Yes. I think we came up with some pretty wonderful games that will never exist. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm very excited for all these games that will never exist that we'll never get to play. And that's a darn shame.
It's a darn shame. But you know what? Thanks for listening to our very first episode. We will have some kind of email, social media, etc.
We do have a social media. We can plug our social media.
We do. I don't remember.
It's Make That Game Pod. Hold on. Let me confirm. Wow, we are so prepared for this.
We really are, and I'm proud of us.
Make That Game Pod at Make That Game Pod on Twitter. We are following nobody, and nobody is following us. That's amazing.
I think I did make us on Instagram, but I don't remember it or how to even look that up. So, I'll put it in the show notes. I'll look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. We'll tweet about it maybe. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for listening to this inaugural episode. And if you feel inspired, we want you to go home and
make
that game.